First, I'd like to say welcome to our clergy area this morning, Reverend Brian and Reverend Myrna. And I'm not sure if Geraldine is here or not. If she is, welcome her as well. Welcome to Christina Duke, who is here on behalf of our important church, Rogers. To Berkeley Lawrence from the Royal Canadian Legion. Wesley Stringer from the Clarenville Canadian Legion. Lieutenant Tim Woodworth of HMC Cabot and the group that's with him. To the members of the military, veterans, I don't think we have any present military here, but to the veterans, a big welcome. To staff and students and the parents of Southwest Army Academy. For our Historical Society Committee. And a big special welcome to all the families who are representing the sailors here today. I'd like to say special thanks to our military. You know, years ago, we didn't really recognize them like we do today. I know growing up in Marcus Cove, as a child, all I knew was that there were men in our community who had served overseas. That's all people said, they served overseas. But nobody talked about it, or they didn't talk about it. I think the only thing I really knew is that I was told that my dad was born the day that his Uncle Bill Peddle, that's my great uncle, came home on leave from the war at the end of July in 1917. He was home on leave. My dad was born that day, and they were told that Uncle Bill brought him home in a suitcase. And Dad looked around as a child. He was so proud. He was the only one in Hodges Cove who wasn't found under a stump or under a rock. That he came home from the war in a suitcase. And I was so proud to read about great Uncle Bill in Uncle Archie Peddle's book. Things I'd never ever known about Uncle Bill. It's amazing the strength, courage that these men had. It's incredible. And to read that now, all these years later, it's amazing. This project today, of course, would not be done without the amazing job done by Lester Green. He's our military coordinator, and it's been a lot of hard work, dedication, many hours of, I'd say, almost blood, sweat, and tears to get information, a lot of research. So I'd like for you all to give him a hand today. And back during the First World War, there's such a small population in this area. When you look at it, we had 87 men who stepped forward from the Royal Naval Reserve. Now we have 26 men who were in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, but 87, when you look at it, that's a lot of young men to go from this area. And they stepped up without a qualm about going. And you know, most of their stories have never been told, but I hope today they're looking down at us and saying, thank you for remembering us and not forgetting what we did. And that's what our society main goal is, to preserve the history of our area. And I hope with all your help, because we can't do it without other people's help, we have to get the information from you people in order to carry on the projects that we do. And today, last of all, I want to say, let's not forget of these 87 men, there were 7 young men who never returned. They made the supreme sacrifice. Their bodies went down with their ships. And these men were Elbert Goss of Long Beach, John Hiscock of Hillview, Alexander Peddle of Hodges Cove, Edgar Smith of Island Cove, Luke Smith of Gooseberry Cove, George Stringer of Little Heartsease, and Simeon Whalen of Cape Cove. May we never forget their sacrifices who still serve. Our society is committed to preserving this history, and we will continue on in the future to preserve the military as we get more information, get time to do work. So thank you. I will call on our student representative. We have Emily Wiseman, who is, I think, the president of the Student Council, and her helper, Andrew Cole. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Student Council, we would like to welcome you all here today to Southwestern Academy's annual Remembrance Day Assembly. To start things off, we will have Ms. Christina Duke, Assistant to MP Insurance Rogers, say a few words.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm here to represent the MP Insurance Rogers today. I'm just going to read a letter from him. He wants to thank you for the invitation to attend your commemorative ceremony marking the 100th anniversary of the end of the Great War. As the Member of Parliament for Bonavista and Trinity, he really appreciates receiving invitations and spending time with the people that he represents. Unfortunately, his schedule wouldn't permit him to be here today. He's in Ottawa. He would like to commend the Southwest Armed Historical Society for organising this event. The sailors of Southwest Arm, who were part of the Newfoundland Royal Naval Reserve during World War I, are owed a debt of gratitude for their role in ensuring our freedom. Too many of our veterans have paid the ultimate sacrifice or returned home injured after defending the rights and values that define Canada. We must always remember the sacrifices made by the men and women who served to make the world safe for us all.
Thank you, Ms. Duke. Next, we will have Berkeley Lawrence from the Royal Canadian Navy.
Well, good morning, teachers and students of Southwest Armed Academy, Comrade Wesley Stringer, and the members of Branch 27 Clarendale, invited guests, Reverend clergy, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor for me to be here as the President of Newfoundland Labrador Command of the Royal Canadian Legion. And on behalf of our 4,000 Legion members across the province here in Newfoundland and Labrador, I thank you very much for the invitation. This is, I think, my 7th school assembly so far this week. And I got 2 more to go tomorrow back in my hometown of Carbonear. So it's always great to come to a school and see the youth bring out the remembrance and how much they are involved in remembrance. I know Southwest Armed Academy is involved in the poster literary contest, because as the chairman of the Popular Remembrance Committee, I get to see the ones that come in from Clarendale, from the winners from this school and the other schools in the area. So congratulations to the students for participating in that program. This year being the 100th anniversary of the armistice of the First World War, on November 11th at 4:30 in the afternoon, the Royal Canadian Legion, in partnership with Veterans Affairs Canada, are doing a program called the Bells of Peace. So if you're not familiar with the Bells of Peace program, I was going to put Wesley Stringer on the spot and say, go see the members from Clarendale and they'll explain it to you. But I'll give you a little brief explanation. During the First World War, there were no bells allowed to be rung. When a church bell rings in a community, especially a small community, it indicates something is happening. So it's either a church service, you're called to go to church, or it's a wedding, you're called to go to a wedding, or, heaven forbid, it's a disaster, and they're calling for people to come to respond to the disaster. So the church bell was a calling mechanism to get people to gather as a group. So you can imagine in the First and Second World War, in England, in Europe, in France, Belgium, that was the last thing they wanted, was a group of citizens to be gathered together in one place. So it was forbidden to ring the church bells during the First World War and the Second World War. So on November 11th, 1918, when the war was finally over and the armistice was signed, the bells rang out in celebration. Everybody celebrated, and so they should. It was the end of 4 long years of turmoil, especially in Europe. So we're going to commemorate that this year by starting to ring the bells. We're asking any church in the province to ring the bells 100 times at 5-second intervals. Get your youth involved. Get your descendants, like myself, of a First World War veteran, involved, and we will celebrate 100 years of peace. As the first guest speaker said, you can never forget people by one simple act. And that simple act is by saying the name of that veteran, that serviceman who is no longer with us. When I toured the battlefields of Europe this year with the Legion, that was very evident to me when we stood in front of headstones and we said, we made a commitment that every cemetery we went in, there were 16 students, 4 Legion members, 4 veterans, and we said we will read every headstone and we will say the names out loud. By saying those names out loud, they will never ever be forgotten. I commend the Southwest Ireland Historical Society, Mr. Lester Green and his committee, for this outstanding project to recognize those 87 men from this part of our province that served in the Royal Navy. And I commend him because by saying their names out loud, they will never ever be forgotten. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Next, we'll have Lieutenant Commander Alan Brown say a few words on behalf of the HMCS Cabin.
So, good morning, distinguished guests, staff, students, friends, family of Southwest Academy. I was asked to speak a little bit here today to you on behalf of HMCS Cabot and speak a little bit about the Naval Reserve in Newfoundland. Because our history, my unit, HMCS Cabot, we were formed in 1949, but the history of the Naval Reserve in Newfoundland goes back to the turn of the century, and why we're here today is to talk about the efforts and the sacrifices made in World War I. So, I was recently appointed commanding officer, less than 2 weeks ago. So, one of the things I've been doing is reflecting on past commanding officers, and one I'm going to speak about a little bit today is named Commander Anthony McDermott. He was the commanding officer of HMS Britain, which was the Royal Naval Reserve training facility in Newfoundland at the outbreak of World War I. So, I don't know if you realize by now, I come from away. So, I'm actually from Nova Scotia. McDermott, he was also from away. He was from Ireland. So, what I really thought was, wanted to share with you today is some of the reflections that he had on the Newfoundlanders who served in the Royal Naval Reserve at the outbreak of war and throughout the war years from his biography. And it really speaks to the sailors that we're really here to commemorate here today. So, first of all, at the outbreak of World War I just want to say the Newfoundland reservists, they performed many tasks. So they crewed various ships throughout the Royal Navy and the Royal Canadian Navy. That would be from any like trawling, coastal patrol vessels, right up to battleships. They also served in many waters. They served in the North Sea. They served in the English Channel. They served in Gallipoli. They operated wireless stations here locally in Mount Pearl, Cape Race, and even here in Heart's Content, there's a cable station. So, one of the best reflections I like is speaking to the character of the sailors that served. And this is a quote from Anthony McDermott, the commander at the time of the Great War. The Newfoundlanders took to naval life and routine like ducks in water. The men hitherto quite unaccustomed to any kind, or to discipline of any kind, never gave the smallest trouble to their officers. Their conduct was uniformly exemplary, punishments practically unknown, every order carried out with cheerful alacrity and seaman-like intelligence. In the matter of cleanliness and deportment, they were the best. There were no smarter looking men in the whole service. So, at the outbreak of hostilities in 1914, there was doubts about whether the Royal Naval Reservists would show up for duty. Because, as you know, they came from small towns. Their livelihood was fishing. And at the outbreak of World War I, it was actually in the peak of the fishing season. Comments were made like, you'll never get them. You can't expect men to give up their livelihood for a war they know nothing about, and in which they have no concern. So, McDermott, after reflecting on what happened, he said, I kept an open mind on the subject, but the croakers were wrong. He said, I did get them, every man jack of them, with no trouble at all, though many of them had to walk 50 or 60 miles to the nearest steamer or railway station. So that just shows the character of the seamen who served. They were volunteers, they gave up livelihood, there was personal sacrifices to families and livelihood, and they served their country well. Community here, I noticed I've traveled a little bit in my time in Newfoundland to a lot of small communities. Everywhere you go, you'll see cenotaph or monument to World War I and the sacrifices made. Right now, as I said, 26 served in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, 86 with the Royal Naval Reserve, right from this community greater area. Of those, 7 sailors made the supreme sacrifice, and 5 soldiers lost their lives. Those numbers are dramatic from small communities, and I'm sure at the time the impacts were great, and those impacts are still felt today. I haven't met a Newfoundlander yet who does not have a direct connection to either Beaumont Hamel or someone lost during the First World War. So, just the project you guys have embarked on preserve the memories and dedication of these sailors, but also the bravery and the sacrifice of the citizens and the families is very important. As a new commanding officer in the Naval Reserve, I read these things, I reflect on them, and I look at the project you guys did as an excellent way that I personally can connect, and my sailors in today's Naval Reserve can connect to the sailors of the past and their efforts. And I hope that we can live up to the example that they set. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Brown. Next, we will have Ms. Stephanie Sparks on behalf of School Council and Home School Association.
Good morning. It is indeed my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of our school council, as well as on behalf of Mrs. Robin Negus, our homeschool president. I just wanted to take a moment to speak to you about how important our history is, and to thank Mr. Lester Green and the Historical Society for all of their work. A couple of months ago, our family received a call, wondering if we knew when my great-great-grandfather, William Peddle, was born. And since my grandmother is no longer with us, she was our go-to if we ever needed to meet and know anything. We went to my great-grandmother's family Bible, but unfortunately, his birth date wasn't there. Imagine, this man served in the war, and nobody knew his birth date. It's important for us to remember, and that is why the work that the Historical Society does is so important, because it helps us to remember him. Today, along with our grandfather Peddle, our family also remembers our grandfather Robert Peach. And while he's not from the Southwest Arm or from Newfoundland, he served on one of the lead ships, the Algonquin, that stormed the beaches of Normandy. Just a young man, not much older than some of you, who was told to fight to the death. He deserves to be remembered. They all deserve to be remembered. So students, when someone takes the time to speak to you about our veterans, listen to every single word, because they deserve to be honored and remembered. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sparks. Next, I'd like to call upon Everett Green, son of Abel, Seaman, Leander Green, on behalf of the families.
First of all, I didn't serve. My father did, and I'm wearing his medals today. His honor and all that he was here to speak. As I drove down here this morning, a lot of memories came back about this place. When my father returned home from service, he bought a car, but he couldn't drive because of the sickness he had. So I drove forward. Every spring, we would ride right down the shore here. We'd be down around here a week. He would visit all his old war buddies. And believe me, I heard a lot of stories. But today, I'm very pleased to be here at Little Heart Seas, to be a part of this ceremony, to commemorate and remember the 87 young men from this Southwest Arm area who served. And I'm particularly pleased to see all the young people here, to be exposed to what we're saying today, and giving them a good insight into why they're living in such a beautiful, civilized part of the world, because of those people who served. They were ordinary people, like us. They worked. Primarily their work was was fishing on the Labrador, which is what most people did. Left their families in the summer, sailed down. I don't think there was any engines around that time. Sailed to the Labrador, fished all summer, sailed back to St. John's, sold their fish, and sailed home. That's who they were. In the springtime, they go, we call it seal hunting. They call it swan. Well, that's what they did. But when king and country called on them to serve, they stepped forward. The little communities that they lived all around this area, there was no transportation. There were no cars. There were no side-by-sides. There were no skidoos. They walked from the communities where they lived. They would walk to Commemorate, they would walk to Briggs, or anywhere there was a connection, a transportation connection to get to St. John's to sign up. Some of them went in there to buy, you had to buy a license, a squad license. And on one occasion, a couple of the young fellows couldn't get their license because they were all sold. So they went and joined the Navy. And they all went overseas. They walked miles across harbors, over ponds, in the middle of the winter to get the transportation connection to get in to join them. They went overseas not knowing if they would ever see their families again. But they kept them in mind, of course. A lot of things they could do over there like they did here. One of the things were, every Sunday morning they went to church. When they were working on the ship, they would go to church, the chapel on the ship. And when they were in port, Sunday mornings when they were off, they would dress up in uniforms and they would walk up on the bridge and they would scour the horizon, looking for a church steeple. And they would walk to church. And they didn't care how far it was, or what church it was, if it was Anglican or Roman Catholic or Salvation Army or whatever. They went to worship. And they told about the different customs of welcoming these people in the churches. When the service was over, they walked back to their ship again. That's who they were. In my earlier reference to them, I mentioned the word ordinary men. And they were. But there's an old adage that says, ordinary people who do extraordinary things are heroes. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm pleased and honored to be able to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Next, we will have students from K to 2 recite Poppies for Remembrance.
Poppies for remembrance. Scarlet poppies can flutter like fragile butterflies. If you dry in the morning of summer, they can dance in the representing the soldiers who were put to rest. Also, my little poppy to everyone I know. And when 11 o'clock comes, we'll remember their song. Little poppy in my hand. Such a small treasure. I'll pass my little poppy to someone new. For them to think of all the brave souls who died for me and you. Thank you.
Soldiers fought a terrible war.
They'd be home by Christmas.
To their families this war.
Many men lost their lives.
As we all now know,
But we shall remember them by wearing the poppies that grow. Many millions of soldiers died on their guns or shields.
many of their poppies grow among Flanders fields.
Remembering their loved ones
And our closest friends
makes us feeling happy.
and we know they'll be in our hearts till the end.
Even though we might not have known them,
We still think of them each day.
having said these few words,
We still continue to pray.
Thank you, students. Next, we will have a slideshow by the Trinity Bay Historical Society. This will be accompanied by singing to the Wing Club. They will be singing
Right now, this is all I know.
Now we will have Mr. Max Peddles help assist with the wreath.
I now ask that all students come up to place their copies on the wreath.
project coordinator, to say a few words.
Good afternoon. It's been quite some time getting to this point. I've jotted down a few notes just to give you a feel for what I've been up to the last 4 years. Both my honor and privilege to stand here today in the presence of the family members. This means quite a bit to me because when you're researching and you're looking at photographs of these men, that's sort of isolation. But when I stand here right now and look down over the crowd, it means a lot. Also, I want you to take a second and focus on these 3 young gentlemen up here from the HMCS Academy. These would be typical representatives of the men who served from our area. And I wanted, when I started this project, I wanted to get the HMCS Academy here. And when I put in my first request, the answer was, yes, if we can be there, we'll be there. And this represents a lot of people sitting here, their father, their grandfather, their uncle, their cousin. I'm proud to have these people here today. This marks 4 years of research. That involved the collecting, it involved interviewing, it involved photographing, and writing the stories of these men. Stories that record the contribution made by the 113 men, with 26 from the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and 87 with the Newfoundland Royal Naval Reserve. Now, I'm not saying to you that's the complete list. I'm certain there's someone in here that I may have missed. And if you know of anyone from this area that I did miss for the First World War, please let me know so we can get their story. Unfortunately, like all conflicts, 12 made the supreme sacrifice. 12 did not return, and they're buried overseas in foreign soil or lost at sea. I want you to think about each and every one who have contributed to this collection. It would not have been possible if, when you received a message from me, whether it's a phone call, an email, if you guys would have ignored me, you wouldn't have gotten it. But because you guys responded, we got the story. If it wasn't for the packet as a means of communication, we wouldn't have been able to get the stories out. So again, I certainly thank them for supporting me in all that effort. When I picked up the key a couple days ago for the Lions Club, because that's when we had the banners placed to, I jokingly said to Cameron Martin, Cameron, we got a lot of banners. Don't be surprised if you come in and you might find one in the washroom. And folks, when we got it up, when we got these banners up, wasn't Elaine? We were almost on the last corner. I said to her, if there would have been 2 or 3 more people, Cameron would have seen them in the washroom. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of those people who supported me and made this day possible. First of all, the Royal Canadian Legion of Clarendon Branch. They've been with me all the way. They supported this event, and they supported one 2 years ago. Thank you very much. The Southwest Ireland Lions Club. A number of you saw the photographs on the banners. Some of these weren't in that shape when we received them. Some were badly torn. But thanks to the contribution of funds from the Lions Club, we had them restored. And most of the photographs were excellent once they were restored. The Southwest Ireland Academy for this facility, allowing us the opportunity to bring this message to the students today. I spent 30 years in the teaching field, and I know how important it is to do that, to get the messages directly to these students. So again, I'm glad to be here today and on behalf of the Assembly Historical Society to bring this history to the school. In order to carry out this type of project, it requires a lot of money. And I have to thank the provincial government. They provided funds on 2 occasions for the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and for the Navy. Also, Veteran Affairs came in on this particular one and supported us with funding, and for that, we thank them. The co-op. Some people might think, why a co-op? Well, I'm certain the guests that are here right now, they're probably thinking about lunch. And the co-op has donated the food that you see here today and donated the food at the last event. And for that, I'm very thankful. I mentioned the packet. Without that means, we'd never be able to communicate this history. I was talking to someone not too long ago, and they said, you're that history guy, isn't it? You're the guy that writes that stuff. And, you know, it gives you a sense of pride, but for me, it's a sense of recording our history. That history is now recorded, thanks to the packet. More recently, the Downholmer came on board, and they carried 2 of the articles and will look at carrying articles in the future. So that guarantees that we can get that history out there of our people. DRC Publishing came on board last spring and helped with the publishing of a book, a raw manuscript. Can you imagine finding this in the raw state? And they agreed to come on board and make sure it was published, and today we will see that book. Imagine a guy writing a book. He was there the moment the magistrate walked on board his schooner, they were referred to the schooners, and asked, is there anyone here who's a Royal Naval Reserve? Step forward. You're going to work. And the Kyle was coming behind the magistrate to pick them up. You imagine. Down there fishing, next thing you know, we're getting ready to go over. So again, thanks to DRC for getting that message out there in the form of that book. Now, what can I say about Robbie Jacobs? A lot of you might be sitting here and saying, who is Robbie Jacobs? Guys, I can write stories, but it takes someone to bring it to life. And these banners that you saw there, that was Robbie Jacobs. I told him he's the one that makes the stories a vivid image for people. It gives you something to remember. And for that, I'll be forever thankful because he did this project with me, and he also volunteered his time on the last project. Would like to thank Crystal. Crystal did the videotaping, photography on the last one, spent a lot of her time putting it together, put it on our website, and she's doing that here again today. And again, folks, I remind you that it's only when people step forward and volunteer their time that we can do things like this. The last one that I'd like to thank, and unfortunately Wanda Garrett couldn't be here, is our team. And I refer to them as team because Elaine tends to be my right arm, and Wanda's my left arm, and they're always correcting me on English. That's not right what you got to do, right? So I certainly appreciate that. Because again, we want to try to make the stories right. We got to get them recorded. And they've been there all the way, and certainly our spouses, they must get tired of us talking. I know my wife is, but she said to me one time, you know more about the dead than you do the living. And she has to listen to all these stories. So sometimes she'll say, I don't know who it is. Yeah, but he's such and such, right? So for that, I'm very thankful. Finally, the families. The families that you see here today. For inviting me into your home, sharing with me the stories of your loved ones that served their king and country 100 years ago. The pride and excitement on your face meant more than any money that someone could pay. The pride when I saw you looking at your father's picture, your grandfather's picture, and told me the stories that were associated with that. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call upon the people that we have here as guest speakers, presenting a small token of our appreciation. First of all, I'd like to call upon the school, a representative from the school. We've already donated a complete set of 87 mini banners to the school that's up there in the fort we came in, and we're also going to donate 10. It'll be 10 altogether. Yeah. 10 of these booklets, and I should mention the booklet. Right, this one for a second. This booklet here is the story of 87 of these men. When I sat down to do this, I said, how do I go about doing it? I knew a lot of you didn't want to sit there and read and read and read. This is like a photo album. So what happens is, when you turn the page, you'll have a particular sailor with a banner, and then over here will be 3 or 4 images about his career in the Navy, based upon the images that families provided me with, ones that I found from naval records, and so on. So this is the history of the Royal Naval Reserve in our area. Everett Green? Everett didn't say this, but Everett's dad was Able Seaman Leander Green, the first person to be decorated during the First World War for his bravery in saving 12 Norwegian passengers that was on a vessel, jumped into the icy cold waters to rescue them. So I felt that Everett should be here today to tell us about that as we mingle up in the lines. Yes, sir. I'd like to call upon Berkeley Lawrence. And now, I got on my list Tim, because Tim is the guy that I've been communicating with. So then he writes me one day and he says, the CEO is coming with me. And I was going, CEO? So, you'll have to forgive me if I don't know his name right now.
Alan Brown.
Right, Alan? Brown. There we go. CEO. And Christina Duke. And this is because of the support offered by veteran affairs and the MP for our district, Terrence Rogers. Okay, and that's the presentation part. At a later date, we'll present to the Royal Canadian Legion in Barnville and also to the Southwestern Lions Club. These are the words that I'd like to leave with you today. It takes time to make history. In time, history is forgotten. It's up to us to record our history, one story at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Finally, we'd like to call upon Ms. Cynthia Pope, Director of Schools for NLASD, to say a few words. Ms. Duke, members of
clergy, representatives from the Southwest Army Historical Society, Mr. Lawrence, and members of the Legion, Mr. Green, special guests, veterans, families, students, and staff. It is indeed a great honor to participate with you in this reflective and respectful ceremony of remembrance. Canada's veterans have a proud heritage, history, and tradition. Our veterans were ordinary men and women who did extraordinary things. And as Mr. Green referenced earlier, ordinary people who do extraordinary things are heroes. We are privileged to live in one of the most prosperous, civilized, and safest countries in the world. Our veterans helped define Canada as a nation and helped shape our country in which we live today. The values for which Canadians fought during the First World War are the same values Canada's military men and women are currently serving to protect. I would like to recognize the Southwest Armed Historical Society for their work which reflects a commitment to researching, preserving, and promoting the history of communities in this area. A tremendous dedication providing us with a rich history of Southwest Army. This year, 2018, is the 100th anniversary of the armistice which concluded the First World War. The Southwest Army Historical Society this year honors the 87 men from this area who enlisted and served in the Royal Naval Reserve. 87 men who fought for the rights and freedoms we enjoy today. I am confident that the families of these men are appreciative over the recognition being shown to their loved ones. The banner that represents each individual reflects the respect and honor we share. As an educator and a former administrator, I've always valued participation in school communities and events such as this. Southwest Army Academy joins with schools throughout the province of Newfoundland and Labrador to honor our veterans and those who continue to serve today. During my time in the education system in our province, I've observed the participation, the preparation, and the dedication that school communities put into these assemblies, and today is certainly no exception to that. The involvement and the engagement of our students in today's activities reflects our goal of fostering the whole development of our children, a development that leads to individuals who are responsible citizens of the world. Participation in this commemorative ceremony supports the development of character, of creativity, of citizenship in our students, and engagement in partnerships with our community members provides opportunities for us to collaborate and communicate. It is important that we remember. It is important that we recognize the efforts of all who have served. It is important that their memories, their stories, their lives are shared. It is also important for us to honor our veterans in our actions, to honor them in the choices we make daily, to honor them by being respectful of others, by demonstrating kindness, and by helping others in need. We often ask our students to make personal connections in response to a text or a visual, and I'd certainly like to do the same today. Remembrance Day is certainly very special to me. I value it as a time to remember those who have served and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, the supreme sacrifice. I also value it as a time to recognize those who are currently serving. And I certainly recognize the members of the HMCS cabinet who are with us today. Today, my youngest brother, Chief Petty Officer Dwayne Poe, is serving on HMCS Halifax as part of Operation Trident Juncture in Northern Europe. I am proud to have a family member. I am appreciative of what he and his colleagues do on a daily basis to protect our rights and our freedoms. On behalf of the Newfoundland Royal English School District, its trustees and staff, I commend all of those who contributed to today's assembly. Thank you to the Historical Society. Thank you to the students and staff. It's great to see so much participation. Thank you for sharing your gifts of music, your poems with us today. It makes me quite proud. Thank you to the families. And I am fortunate to have participated with you today and share with you during this event. I encourage you to continue to honor our veterans, lest we forget. Thank you.
Before we leave, I think we should stand and sing the Ode to Newfoundland, and then followed by God Save the Queen.
And we hope you all can enjoy your long weekend for those that are missing.